Hello, welcome and good evening to the Hot Seat. In the Hot Seat today is a businessman, founder member of the National Heritage Party, better known as the Jatika Hela Urmia, and a one-time treasurer of the United National Party. Good evening and a warm welcome, Mr. Tilak Karunaratne, Chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Sri Lanka.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
So, Mr. Tilak, how does it feel to be back at the Securities and Exchange Commission?
It is really a hot seat, as you call the program. But, I had no idea, or I was not too keen to accept this position till PM called me and said, Tilak, we have unfinished business to finish. Go and do it. So I took up the challenge and I feel quite comfortable, but there are of course challenges. And I must thank him because he has given me an excellent commission. What I mean is the commissioners.
Right.
And highly qualified, well versed in capital market dealings and also in regulation. And they are real professionals, so it's really a pleasure to work with them.
And Mr. Tilak, when in the previous administration, how did you end up in the SEC then?
Yes, that is a very sad situation, I must say.
Okay.
When I took over, because the main function, as per the Act also, the regulator's job is to regulate, not to promote. Right? Promotion is done by the capital market. So, but instead of regulating the market, we were involved in so many other things, including promotion. And there were so many allegations at that time, as you know, about pumping and dumping and then insider trading, front running, manipulations, and whatever that could have been done wrongly in the capital market was done. Right? So therefore, there are so many complaints. I initiated inquiry into all this. And then the pressure came up from the very top.
When you mean the top, who is the top?
The president himself, nobody else.
So he's the one who headhunted you in the first place?
Absolutely. He offered me many things before that, ambassadorship in Japan, High Commissioner in UK, Chairman Petroleum, which all I very politely refused and declined because I didn't want to be in government service. I had to be a government servant or even to hold an office in a state institution because you can't do your job independently and fearlessly. But then finally he said, you can't say no to everything except this. I know that you are also an investor in the capital market. You know what is happening there. So take up the challenge. I said, yes, I will, on two conditions. One is, I will do a completely honorary job. No salary, no car, no fuel, no mobile phone, nothing. I will use my own resources. Two, more importantly, no interference from anybody. He said, yes, I am the one who is appointing you, so he's going to interfere with you. So I said, fine, I went and sat there. But when I went into these investigations and started, doing things which upset many of the very powerful guys who were with the government then he is the one who exerted pressure on me. And every time we started on something, Tilak, why are you doing that? Why are you investigating that person? I said, to me, it looks like he had done something wrong. So we got to investigate. He said, you can't do that. They are my supporters. They are my benefactors. They are the people who help us in elections. And how can you do that? And then we will not have their support. I said, sir, that is your problem, not my problem. I came on the assurance that my work will not be interfered with. So not once, not twice, so many times. So finally it came to a situation where I just could not work there anymore. And then he also sent me word that you and I can't work together. So better you go. So I went.
Didn't you get a clue as to how he may act? Because previous to that we had Malik Kader, who
not Malik, it was Indrani Sugadas, Light Piyotunga's wife.
Yes, we had the
Malik
Indrani.
DG.
That's right. He mysteriously appeared in some office in the Ministry of Finance.
Yes.
And
consultant on capital markets.
That's right. And then we had this respected figure in the form of Indrani Sugadas, wife of the presidential secretary, and she resigned. Did you
uphold her principles.
Yes. Did you?
Great lady.
Did you not get any sort of?
No,
sign?
but because I got that assurance from him,
Right.
I knew the past. I knew, but then I thought that because my friendship with a former president extends to at least the early 80s, so it's more than almost 30 years or more, perhaps. So I thought, no, he's going to support me on this, and that is why I went.
Did you ever get a call from the former Defense Secretary, Gotabaya Rajapaksa?
Yes, of course. I got a call as I began. He said, he mentioned 2 names and said they are good friends of mine, and I understand that they have an issue with SEC, Security Exchange Commission. See whether you could help them out. So, Gotabaya is also a friend and all college mate, and of course very much junior to me. So I said, so send them along. I'll have a chat with them and see whether I can help. So they came and saw me, spent a couple of hours with me, and I said, I will see. I will investigate and see how best I can do this. But I said, I am not going to sacrifice my principles. I am not going to sacrifice my mandate, and I will do your job. And if you don't fall within the gambit of those, okay. Otherwise, I'll have to take you to task. I was very clear in my thoughts and words, both. And so they went back.
They went back? Were you able to help them?
No, not. I was not able to help them, and I shouldn't have helped them also.
Right. But they were beyond help then?
They were beyond help, but unfortunately they got scot-free.
Right. And so you left. And you're back now. And do you think that you're going to get any pressure from this president and this prime minister?
I was appointed by the Prime Minister because SEC now directly comes under the Prime Minister,
right,
the regulator, and I have 100% trust and faith in him, and there will be absolutely no interference or pressure on me. So that is why I have gone there.
And so you don't feel that this time you're going to be invited to the presidential mansion and have a presentation from the high net worth individuals?
Yeah, that came as a thunderbolt because we were never told that there was going to be a presentation.
Right.
We also could have made a presentation, but of course I defended my staff and myself, I think, adequately. But that was really ridiculous, I thought, that presentation. Part of our job is, if they see any wrongdoing by a investor, we send a letter of caution.
Yeah.
And even the letters were produced. So he's sending letters to investors. So how can you galvanize the capital market? The investors are now scared to come in there. So that kind of presentation was made. That was terrible. So anyway.
Mr. Tanak, just move on. Can you explain in layman terms the difference between speculation and manipulation?
Well, speculation is really that you do not have any inside information as such.
Right.
But if you follow the market and then you feel that counter may go up, then you speculate, and that's a gamble.
Right.
Take a risk,
right,
and then go and invest. But manipulation is knowingly that you send a counter up,
right,
and then exit at the right time, making a huge profit.
Okay. And usually the people who get caught out are
innocent, ignorant, and relatively poor investors.
Right. So you've arrived here now, and your remit is to do what at the SEC?
To regulate, mainly.
Okay. As you see it now, is it a safe place to put your money in, with a bit of risk perhaps? But
I don't want to comment on the capital market, Faraz, because that is not my mandate or my issue.
Right.
My job is to see that the market is properly regulated, not over-regulated.
Right.
That's very important. Properly regulated, so that investors will have confidence in going there and investing, and that we can't totally eliminate manipulations and all the other wrongdoings in the market, but minimize them as much as possible, and that is my job.
I don't want to mention particular stocks or names, just to be fair, but in 2012 there was a company, a relatively small company, that entered the market at say 200 rupees. In the space of 18 days, their stock had zoomed to 1,500. That's speculation, or manipulation?
That is certainly manipulation.
Okay. At one point, that company was, the small company was worth more than a bank.
Yes, billions. Yeah, literally billions.
Today,
5% shareholder also became a billionaire.
Yes, that's right. Yes. Today, that share is worth about 20 rupees.
21, I think.
21, whatever. What systems you have in place to overcome these? Because obviously, lay people get caught out.
Now we have the surveillance division,
Right.
who keep tab on the movement and all the other activities in the stock market on a second by second basis.
Right.
It is all reflected in our database.
Right.
And then if there's any unusual movement, they are supposed to immediately spot it and take the necessary action to prevent it, or bring it to the authorities to check on that. So the surveillance is one. Then of course we have the investigations division. So, and then of course the enforcement. But obviously there had been certain shortcomings in actually correcting such happenings in the past.
Are the laws adequate?
This act came into being 27 years ago, and since then there have been very few amendments. So it's basically not in keeping with the modern trends in capital markets, regulators. If you take US SEC or even Malaysia, Singapore or any other, they are far ahead of us. So that is why we are now actually when I left in August 2012, or when I was forced to leave in 2012, I had the first draft completed, the amendment with the World Bank and assistance, and with the semi-legal division. And I sent a copy to the Treasury as well as to COPE, just to show that we have done what we were expected to do. But since then it has been going up and down. Now we are on to the 7th draft now. So, but I have again fast-tracked it, and we have this even on a kind of daily basis going into this, and trying to sort of close all the loopholes, and even this now we are bringing this into whistleblower protection in keeping with the US SEC Act and the new amendments. So trying to bring it up to date. So, and also we only have criminal jurisdiction at the moment. So it's very difficult to prove, because you have to prove beyond doubt, reasonable doubt. But in the new act, we will have civil jurisdiction as well.
So balance of
properties, and it's much easier. So there are certain shortcomings in that, but I won't blame this dismal performance in the past purely on the act. Now, there had been shortcomings on our part as well.
So just because you mentioned the US SEC, am I right in saying that they have a sort of a non-partisan head of SEC there?
Yes, of course. Yes. That the present head was appointed during the tenure of office of President Reagan, if I remember right. And since then, so many presidents have come and gone, and even under President Obama, same person continues. There is no interference. So that's the way it should be. The actual SEC must have total independence, like any other independent body.
Do you see that on the horizon in Sri Lanka?
With the new act, or the amendments we have proposed, will give us a lot of independence. Yes.
What plans you have then to let the market? You said you don't want to over-regulate,
definitely.
So are there enough regulations in place?
No, I don't think so. Okay. There's so much to do. So that is what that we are working on with this these amendments to the Act.
Yeah.
And also bring some sanity to the market by minimizing, as I said earlier, all those manipulations and the rest of it.
Yeah. So the people who give credit, the way I understand it, is separate entities from the actual brokerage.
Yeah, but brokerages can have wholly owned subsidiaries,
right,
extending credit.
And so, do you regulate? The regulation comes to the people who supply the credit as well.
We can extend our sort of area of authority to them as well.
Yes, we as people in the media, we too have had various sort of people complaining about all sorts of abuses.
Yeah. Certainly, we are going into that. Yes.
And can I ask you, some of this, the brokerage community has also played a role in creating this bubble. So they also must share some blame. Is one perception.
I don't blame all the brokers. No. Certainly not. A minority of the brokers, yes.
How do you have plans to regulate that too?
Yes, of course. Brokers, regulation of brokers come under us.
Right.
Yeah.
Will you tighten it up?
Yes, we have to. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And with this T+3 settlement cycle, there's like a huge settlement risk in the market with the brokers. Some not sufficiently capitalized. How are you going to address this?
No, that now we have gone into this tripartite agreement with the central bank, the CSE, and ourselves into bringing in DVP, the new reverses payment, and so that it's almost immediate. And we have already found a consultant.
I see.
We ordered a consultancy, and that was before my time.
Yeah.
And now, so it's very much on. So within the, hopefully by the end of the year, we should have it in place.
Right. So what is your vision for the capital market in Sri Lanka, and how
I would call it a vision for the capital market, because that vision should come from the capital market.
Right.
Our vision is where we would be, say, 5 years hence from now, as the regulator. Mm-hmm. That is the vision. And for that, my previous administration, before I took over, they have formulated something, but of course there's nothing new in that. All that has been there from the time of Mr. Gamini Wickramasinghe, or even beyond, who was the chairman then, or even beyond, and we all have contributed to that vision. So if we can implement all those things, certainly we will have a well-regulated capital market, and where investors, big and small, knowledgeable and not so knowledgeable and totally ignorant, will have a fair deal. Mm-hmm. And we undertake this education, that investor education and investor education program. Now in your own channel we have the Danno Dinanno, that show it, which is very popular, and that is based on knowledge of how to invest and other things about the stock market. And then in newspapers we have it, and then we have investment forums all over the country, actually educating the investors. So with that, we expect the people who invest in the capital market to be fairly knowledgeable. They obviously all can't be experts, and some of them deal directly, but most of them deal through a broker. So they depend on the broker's advice, and that is where I think the weakness is. Mm-hmm. And brokers advise, some brokers, I'm not blaming all, advice may not be the right advice.
Right. In your last tenure, when you left, it was common knowledge that there were about 17 files which you were stopped in your tracks.
Yeah.
Do you intend picking them up again?
Yes. Now it's like this. I find this. I sent 17 files to the Treasury and to Cope
Yeah.
before I left,
Yeah.
and those were the investigations were incomplete.
Right.
But those were the investigations that were in the pipeline.
Right.
Right. So if I may give you a breakdown of that.
Yeah.
Now, for example, that was in 2012. We had altogether 19 ongoing. Right?
Right.
17 files are sent, but there were 2 more. And out of which only 5 individuals have been warned. One stockbroking firm cautioned regarding market stroke price manipulation.
Yeah.
And 2 investment advisors warned again front running. So that is 5 plus 1, 6 and 2, 7. Other 12 have been dropped due to insufficient evidence.
Are you good? Is there a case to reopen those files?
Now, where enforcement action had been taken,
Yeah.
we can't.
No.
Other 12 certainly we can revisit.
Right.
And that I intend doing, and we have already started.
Should that send the shivers down people's
Why should
back?
they? If they're not done anything wrong, then why should they send
They
shivers?
shouldn't be.
They should be at all. They are not going to,
So you're not going on a witch hunt?
so obviously not. When I accepted the job was, I said, no, I'm not on a witch hunt.
Right.
Certainly not.
So really, in the past, it has been, the stock market has been a nice euphemism for that absolutely can't say word casino.
For few.
For few.
Yeah.
It was a
That's all.
casino for few.
Yeah.
And you intend making it a proper marketplace for safe investments, maybe?
Yes, capital market is not 100% safe like most of the investment.
Right.
You take a risk.
Yeah.
The risk factor is not totally eliminated.
Yeah.
All what I can do is informative, well-judged investment where your risk is minimized. That's all you can do. You can't eliminate risk totally. But it's much better than playing casino. Because the casino is heavily loaded against the man who plays.
Yes.
But here it is not so bad if you know what you are doing.
Right. I want to ask you, when banks lend monies against shares and have liens on them, some high net worth individuals and companies and so on appear to have borrowed at the peak when the shares were really high. Now we have a situation where those shares have settled at more realistic levels. Doesn't this place the banks at risk?
But most of the banks are foreclosed on their investments. They have taken the money because they usually lend only 50% of the value.
Right.
Not more than that usually. Maybe in a very special case they may lend a little more depending on the investor himself.
Right.
How good he is. His credentials. Usually only 50%, so bank is not at that much risk. But when the shares started coming down, most of the banks just sold and got their money. So I don't think there is such a systemic risk as to the bank at the moment.
And do you think there are any systemic problems in this regulation that you got, or is it?
Systemic? Not really, no. I wouldn't say no. But there are weaknesses in the system. So that those are the things that we are trying to correct and plug.
Right. So eventually, the stock exchange is not a casino, and wouldn't have to pay this 1 billion tax on that all casinos have to pay now.
Not at all. The profit you make in the stock exchange is free of tax.
Right.
So there is no tax on that. That's been about one advantage you have. What you make in the stock market is free of tax.
And there's no bubble. So can the investing public say, where our money might be safe now? Well, to a point.
I won't say with 100% confidence, but fair confidence I would say yes. That market is behaving in a very what shall I say? as expected, there are ups and downs, of course, but there is no bubbles as such now.
I don't know if you can really answer this one, but maybe just the last question. We are in 100-day, sort of an interim, almost interim government. Is your work also going to be stymied in a way inside this 100 days?
I'm not thinking about the 100 days. I'm doing my job.
Right.
Whether it's 100 days or 1,000 days or whatever.
Yeah.
But what is given to me, I will do to the best of my ability. So I'm not looking at the time frame at all.
Mr. Tilak Karunaratne, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show in the hot seat, and we hope that the current president, the prime minister, will not be making any influential calls on you.
Not at all. I'm 100% convinced on that, and thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you for being on the show.
Thanks.
Thank you.